Yeesh.
Things are a little unsettled here in the Reflection Studio.
Have you read Constantine's Sword?
Excuse.
It's about how Jesus Christ was anglicized by the Lutheran Protestants in 1560. Yeesh!
You're with me, fans. We're going to try to get through this as we're joined by the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. Thanks for being here, Kevin.
Thanks for being here, Tony. I love Paulie, and I actually believe that if he stayed, we'll say, from Massachusetts to Baltimore, across to Cleveland, in that area, he'd still be in business today.
Do you think maybe he had the wrestling mind but not the business mind?
Well, he owes a lot of people a lot of money. He owes me $6,000, by the way, Paul.
The mentality that he sold to his locker room was it was us against the world. Did Florida feel that way too, or was it completely different?
We knew we were the shit in Florida. But here's the thing. Paulie must have watched a lot of the Newt Rockne story, you know, the great coach from Notre Dame. Terry Funk and I used to look at each other while Paul gave that, and Terry and I would roll our eyes. He'd go, wow. I mean, yeah, Paul's family must have come from Russia when the revolution was going on.
Right.
They must have been good friends of Lenin,
right,
because he sold them a lot of propaganda bullshit, and they took a hook, line, and sinker, and rightfully so, because he made those guys perform much better than they were.
Right.
Now, we decide what we're going to do with the savior of the company, Braun Strowman, right? Eddie Graham was spinning in his grave. And then we threw him in a garbage truck with the compactor to squish them. So he's a fucking piece of garbage. You think Eddie Graham would have got Jack Briscoe over that? You think Dory Funk Sr. would have got Terry over that? You think Paul Heyman would have got Shane Douglas over? They are so far fucked. And it ended up 5 against 2. And here's the greatest thing. Angle is a huge star. His return should have been built up like the Gone with the Wind. Oh, we're throwing Angle in there. He's not ready to compete, so he has to take a break during the match. What? Let's fuck. Kevin, could you write this down and really fuck this up? Okay, let me do this. Well, we're going to throw the biggest star that we have in a garbage truck. We're going to compact it. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. It's going to be tremendous. And then we're going to Kurt Angle. We're not going to build him up at all. And then we'll give him a break, and he'll beat 5 heels up. And then, what the fuck are they doing?
And they wonder why there's a disconnect.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I watch it when Eddie's had Billy Robinson, who's a shoot legend, and Tony Charles, another shoot legend. They had a tremendous pro wrestling match on the 3rd match. And I said, Eddie, what a great fucking match, huh, Eddie? He said, yeah, too bad I wouldn't draw a dime on top. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that kind of, that's what Paul Lee did too. He had solid shit, and then he had the violence, and then he ended up with wrestling. And Paulie had the formula. They've lost the formula completely. And I watched a little bit of Monday night, and the Japanese boy, Nakamura against Kevin, it was okay. But maybe I didn't watch it long enough. But it wasn't nothing, it was no Steamboat Flair, you know what I mean? It wasn't Briscoe Funk. It wasn't Terry Funk and Abdullah the Butcher. It was good. But has taste buds fallen that bad that we're drinking Miller Lite now and thinking it's a good imported beer?
Right.
Kevin and I have always been close. We had a little, pissing contest, whatever. But Kevin's a very, very smart guy. I like hanging out with Kevin. He used to come to my house a couple of times a year for a weekend when we were down the Keys. Kevin can talk about wine, he can talk about painting, he can talk about everything besides wrestling. Kevin's a very smart guy, and back then Kevin was 320 pounds and he dwarfed Hogan.
What do you think about the negative connotation that stuck with Kevin Nash about him, like just all about himself and all about money and not really giving back to the business?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. The finger point of doom, that was not Kevin's idea. He was so pissed off at whatever, doing it for Arn, and let Rick talk him into it, that he said, well, I'm going to throw you in the match too. I just wrestled him last week. Why am I?
So he wanted you in the match to prove a point?
Yeah,
like,
he put a point, you should have protected me.
That's remarkable.
You should have protected me. And I looked at him like, it's like one time I met Johnny Ace in a hotel room and they asked me what I thought. And I said, how can you have Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio in a program for 3 weeks where they hate each other, and the 4th week they're tag team? Doesn't anybody watch this shit? And what I'm getting back about them, we're talking about the WWE. They have the library. They have the answer. Go back and look at your goddamn thing. That's why I say, someone read a book or look at a movie. Go back and look at YouTube. Look when you were successful. I mean, God damn it, the shit's still. But the 2 greatest politicians got on him. You think Hogan's good? Nash is the general, brother. He's the 5-star general. We've only had one in this country, Pershing. Okay, he's the 5-star general. And when they power bombed him in Baltimore as the face of WCW, and he came back as a character in the NWO.
That was the beginning of the end.
That was the beginning of the end.
Did his demeanor backstage change when he became a performer? Was he believing him?
Of course, all performers do, except a few. Except a few. I mean, here's the thing. Every fan bitches about Dusty putting the world belt on him, right? They bitch about Hogan put the world belt on himself. I don't hear anybody bitching about Vince Russo putting the belt on himself. And it was a work with Kevin and Scott. It was good cop, bad cop. Right. I knew it, you know what I mean?
Right.
First thing would be, Scott would come in and say, oh, Big Grumpy's grumpy tonight. Oh, and everybody, oh. Except I've seen it. It's like I said, Leave It to Beaver, where Whitey steals the dog.
Yes.
I've seen this 37 episodes, right? And Kevin come in, fuck this, kick a chair. Everybody jump around and sit there, And then after he got his way, him and I would have our moment. I said, fuck, brother, when you fucking get the Academy Award, please mention my name. And I'd like to thank Kevin Sullivan.
Was he as out of control as we hear about nowadays?
He's the most controlled guy I ever met.
Right.
Alcohol, drugs, whatever your vice was, Kevin took it to this level where everybody took it to that level.
Right.
He's one of the most controlled guys I've ever met. And I said, I enjoy just talking to Kevin because we can talk about going to the Louvre,
What about Scott Hall? Was he just as easy to talk to?
Scott had a problem. I mean, I'm not going to talk it out of school. I knew before it became public.
Sure.
I was there when he killed the guy.
Right.
Hogan was afraid to even get his toe close to the line,
Yeah.
So, okay, if the Shack works, this kid's... See, Hogan's deal where he hated the guys underneath they were 5'9", 5'10". He's 6'6" at the time.
This is his mentality.
Yeah, he has to beat a Yeti. First time probably he ever heard of a Yeti, you know what I mean? And he decided to wrap the guy up, but he was a big guy. I mean, we had guys, I was looking at him sometimes at the Dungeon of Doom, that I love John Tenta. John Tenta was a wonderful human being. John Tenta was a legitimate tough guy. John Tenta should have been in a different thing, not the Shock. You know what I mean?
I mean, what came next for him was very odd. Remember, he shaved half his head.
Yeah.
I'm not a shark. I'm a human.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was because of the Brutus thing. Remember the yes, no, yes,
Zodiac.
no. Yeah, come on. Yes, no, yes, no. I mean,
Whose idea was that?
Hogan's. Taz called me one time and says, Hulk wants you to give him a call. I said, why? He said, I think he wants you to come in. This is in TNA. So I wrote some things down. I watched them for the first time, wrote some things down. He called me and he said, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I looked at the show and this is what's wrong. He flipped because I didn't put him first. I went from the first match to his shit. It was like, whoa. You're trying to straighten this whole thing out and you're not really worried about me? And at that point, I really wasn't because he's Hulk Hogan. I don't think that he has a lot of self-confidence now. And I think that came when, you know, when we brought him back from Thunder in Paradise?
Yes.
Look at him when he came back from Thunder in Paradise from WrestleMania 3. He was a shell of himself. He was bent over when he was doing his interviews. It was only when he got with Nash and Hall and they stepped back to let him, they propped him up. They really did.
So you credit the resurgence of Hogan's confidence to Hall and Nash.
Absolutely.
Fascinating.
I never hung around with Chris because of our angle. Everybody was shocked when it happened.
What was your first reaction? I mean, of course, like shock, but
Teddy Long called me, and he said, "You know what happened?" I said, "Was it a gas leak?" That was my first.
Right, it's
thing.
natural to think that.
I couldn't believe what happened. I mean, something snapped somewhere, and I don't want to talk ill about the dead.
Right.
We don't know. You know, supposedly brain damage.
Concussions, I've heard, but that's hard to swallow sometimes.
Something happened between him and her, and who knows what happened.
Right.
And I know it's like I said about Brian Pillman. Not only did we lose a great performer with Brian Pillman, but we lost one of the greatest bookers that would have been.
Right.
We would never talk about the Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes feud. We'd only be talking about Austin Pillman feud. And Benoit could have fit in there perfectly. I just don't know what happened. I don't think anybody's ever going to know.
Do you think the WWE is justified in what they did to his legacy by blackballing him and erasing him from all their lineage?
The first time I ever wrestled in the Orange Bowl, I had her on chains, and it was on the news that night. And the newscaster put it up on sports, and he said, I don't know what this is, but I like it. So, I mean, she was a forerunner of it. Yeah, here's a picture of us. I mean, I don't think I would have gotten as far as I did without her, too. When they think about me being a legend, they think about me when the grass was greener, the beer was colder, the girls were better looking, and that was the best time of their era,
right.
their life.